Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another live. I'm a little bit frantic today, if I'm being honest. I'm Laken. If you're new here, I go live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. And I had every intention to kick off this month's live with it's a new month and I'm feeling good and all this excitement. But frankly, it's snowing outside. I love the snow, typically not in April. And it was raining the last 2 days. The weather this week has just been making me feel very meh and very not energized. I have a mess behind me. My office is a disaster because again, the energy, the mental energy and the excitement to tidy up and get things ready, I haven't had it, truthfully. So we're going to get through this today. I'm excited about the topic for today because it is something that I have been talking about for the last few months in my goals video. I'm excited to dig deeper and kind of tell you more about it in detail. But let's start with our question that we always start with, which is, what is one small win that you have to share from the last week? What is one goal-related win that you want to share with us? I love, love, love hearing about your wins. And I think it is so important that we continue to share our wins. So if you are here live, please say hello in the chat and let us know what your wins are. And if you are part of the replay fam, please share your wins in the comments. I'm going to give it a second while the comments come in. My win is I finished all of the content for April, which actually is a lot. If you saw last week's live, I shared the calendar for April, and there's 7 videos going live in April. 2 have already gone live, my quarterly goals and my monthly goals the last 2 days. And then there's another week that we won't have a live because I'm out of town. And so there's a bonus video that week as well. I'm going to add the pictures for today while those comments start to come in. Again, I'm a little behind. Normally I have all of the things ready to go by the time this call is starting, and today I did not. So let's go ahead and get all of that uploaded. I see the comments starting to come in. Hello, Amber, I see your question. When we get to the Q&A section, I will bump back up and make sure to answer it. Jamie, small win, I got my sheets changed. Sometimes that's not a small win. I know we've talked about before on this live how much I hate changing sheets. Made some progress on packing. That's so exciting. Getting back into a routine after being sick. I hope that you are feeling better, trying to get a good solid month. I feel like the start of the year has been crazy and I need a solid month. I completely understand that. Sometimes life is so chaotic that we don't even get that solid month. And we have to just say, can I get a solid week or even a solid day? Sometimes, at least that's how I feel sometimes. Made progress on decluttering. I bought a new electric razor. That is exciting, Jennifer. Any other wins coming in? Changed out all the bedroom bedding and all the blankets for the warmer weather approaching. This is interesting, Ashley, because I was actually just having a conversation with somebody the other day about whether you use different bedding when the weather changes. I've never done that. I've never, and I've lived in cold places, but I've never changed out to flannel sheets or added an extra blanket. I feel and in New York, we didn't have central air. So I would just adjust the temperature of the apartment based on how open the window was. Or sometimes, truthfully, in some of my New York City apartments, whether the air conditioning was on in the winter because the furnace was so hot. Okay. Any other questions? All right, let's bump into, really, let's jump to, I don't know what phrase or what word I was trying to use there. Y'all, like I mentioned in the intro, if you missed the intro because you were watching an ad, if you're here live, sometimes that happens. I'm feeling a little out of sorts today. The snow is not helping. And then I also thought I had an appointment for something this afternoon and realized this morning that they never called to confirm. And so I called them and she was like, no, we don't have you down. I was like, great. Do you have any availability? Can you squeeze me in? I'm just feeling kind of out of it today. Okay. Book updates. Nothing too out of sorts compared to last week. I did not finish any books from last week, so it's all just kind of the same. Currently reading my hard copy nonfiction is still How to Manage Your Home Without Losing Your Mind. Loving it so far. I know I said that last week, but I am still very much enjoying this book. I think it's been really helpful. I'm probably about halfway through it. My nonfiction audiobook is Unprotected by Billy Porter. It's Billy Porter's autobiography. Love it so far. I'm only maybe 30% of the way through, but I've always been a Billy Porter fan. I've always been a Broadway fan, so that helps. And just hearing his story and everything, like his history, so many things. I feel like that's always the case with autobiographies. There's so much that we don't know about like these people whose lives we feel like we know, right? And then I am also still reading both hard copy and audio, A Court of Thorns and Roses. And I actually made some significant progress this last week. I feel like I'm finally starting to get into it. I know we talk about this every week. I feel like I just got to power through. And I do feel like doing the audio with the physical book at the same time has been helping with that as well. The other thing that I think is helping is I've been prioritizing my PM routine as part of my goals. And so when I do my PM routine, then doing something else, I actually am like ready for bed. And so I get in bed and I read my book, and that has been great. And then as always, my daily stoic, my percent has dropped a little bit from last week because I missed a few days over the weekend. So those are my reading updates. There's a couple more wins. Made huge progress on my decluttering project. I love that. And then a couple different comments about changing your bedding for the weather. I have a quilt on my comforter on my bed in the winter, so I removed the quilt off my bed. I pulled my extra blanket off today because it's been warm in Florida. I changed to a higher thread count, which helps the bed feel cooler. Oh, I never knew that. Maybe I need to be getting better sheets. I am somebody who gets really warm when I sleep, and I want it to be colder typically. All right, let's talk about my goal check-in. So if you have not watched the goal check-in video, or the goal, not check-in, the goal kickoff video that went live yesterday. So if you're here live, it was literally 24 hours ago. So understood that you may have not watched it yet. I'm not going to go through all the details about about what the goals are. That is in that video. I also had a realization this quarter, which how it has taken me this long to realize this, I don't know. Y'all, I have been making goals videos. Well, my YouTube channel will be 6 next month. What? And I think I started making goals videos maybe year 2, so maybe 4 to 5 years. I've been making goals videos. And for a number of those years, I've also been making quarterly goals videos because I've been setting quarterly goals. That was maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Why did it never occur to me that instead of doing Q1 and Q2 in March and April, it would just make way more sense for me to do Q1 in March and Q2 in April? Like, why did it take me this many years for that to like click? But as I was filming these videos that went up this week, I finally was like, that makes no sense. So next quarter, we're going to transition to that, and it will make a lot more sense. At least it will in my head. And so far, the comments on that video have agreed with me. So a couple things that I've done. I did make a list of the workout places in Chicago. Truthfully, there's not as many as I thought there was going to be. I always, in my head, I'm like, Chicago is just New York, but smaller. And in New York probably has also very much changed. I haven't worked out in person there in years because of the pandemic. And so I think a lot of fitness places didn't make it through, unfortunately. And so there weren't very many. So I think my list has like 6 places on there. I also don't have a car, and time is very much a precious resource these days. So I didn't pick any places that were too far from my apartment. So I have a list of 6 places that I'd like to try. I have not figured out when I'm going to do that one in April. That's why it's the only one not scheduled, but at least the list is good. And then I have scheduled time for all my other one-time steps, like they're in my calendar, but I haven't done any of them yet. I have not checked off any of my weekly steps yet. One of those is the workout days, which if I had worked out this morning, I would have been able to check that off, but I procrastinated, postponed. I'm not sure which word I would use there. Partially the weather, like I think I mentioned a million times at this point, is bringing me down today, and I just didn't have it. And then also, let me know if you can relate to this. Sometimes what I'll do is when I know something is going to be a goal, the week or 2 leading up to it, and I know this is not what I would ever recommend. Okay. I want to make sure you know that. I don't do it the week or 2 leading up to it. Right. So I knew working out was going to be a priority in April in Q2. So I didn't work out the last 2 weeks of March, which was silly because then when I did a 20-minute lower body workout on Monday, I am still sore. So the thought of getting on the bike, I was going to do a ride today. I didn't want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and push that to tomorrow. And then I should be able to get my workout day and minute checkbox tomorrow. But I said this in my goals video, in my dreamland, I think, or in my ideal state, I would be doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And so I would have those check marks done by this live, but we'll see. It may also not make sense because on Wednesdays, I actually get ready. If you can call putting my hair in a bun. Also, I need to redye my hair very badly. If you can call this getting ready, maybe working out on the day I have to get ready doesn't make the most sense. And it's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, which is what it's going to be this week. We'll see how it feels. And then in terms of monthly and weekly tasks, that's the topic for today. So I'm not going to jump into that in detail in this section of the video. And then in terms of daily stuff, working out, we just talked about. Daily Instagram limit, I did not hit Monday, but I was also having massive Instagram technological difficulties on Monday. I was trying to post something and it kept giving me an error. And so I was in my settings trying to mess with things. And so I didn't hit it. I hit the limit. That's how that check mark works. If I hit the limit, but I don't override it, I still get the check mark. So Monday, I hit the limit at like 4 p.m. and I overrode it and said, screw you limit, and did whatever I wanted on Monday. Yesterday, I did hit the limit, but not until like 8 something. And so it was very easy just to be like, okay, I'm done with Instagram today. Photos have been going well. PM routine has been going well. My PM cutoff has been going well for Instagram. And then my weekly tasks, again, that is our topic for today. So that is my goals check-in. We're only a couple days into the month, so not a ton to talk about, but we'll touch on it more, obviously, as we go throughout the month. I know we concluded a couple of weeks ago that I'm going to keep these in because you do find value in them. All right. Let's talk about recurring tasks. So the topic for this week is those monthly and weekly recurring tasks. And I feel like trying to explain how I'm tackling it in my goals videos, but I know I'm probably not doing it justice. So I wanted to make it its own videos so that I could really explain to you what I mean. I'm going to share with you what my tasks list actually are. And I'm going to go in depth on how I make it work and why I feel like it's actually working for me for the first time in a long time. Because what I mean by recurring tasks are exactly what it sounds like. Things that have to happen more than once, like in a recurring basis with no really possible end state. So for me, it's mostly household things, right? Things like running our Roomba. Some of it is some self-care things, washing my makeup brushes. Again, I'm going to share my list in a little bit, but things that need to be done. There's a typo there. Sorry, y'all. Things that need, can you tell I was in a rush today trying to, the notes were already done because I just definitely I was trying to fix the typo, made it worse. Again, y'all, this is definitely live. The outlines for these are all done in advance. Like that's part of creating content for the month, but adding them into these little pop-ups, I do it in the morning before. Typically I do it like hours ago. Today it happened like minutes ago. So sorry for the typos. So things that need to be done weekly or monthly or quarterly, and they are recurring. So these are not, in my mind, while I've been tackling this from a goal standpoint in my goal planner, they're not goal action steps. Like these are things that I need to do as a functioning adult. Now, that said, my way may not work for you. The way that I'm sharing about this and the way I'm tackling it may not work for you. And also, I don't have this on a pop-up, but I feel like I just really need to hammer this home. My list doesn't have to be your list and vice versa. So when you see my list, don't say, oh, I should also be doing that, or I should. There is no should in this topic. There is no you should do this or should do that. These are things that I want to be doing because of the way that they make me feel when they are done. And then vice versa. If there is something that you feel like you want to be doing on a weekly, monthly, or quarterly basis, please don't come at me and say you should also have this on your list. You should also have that. Like we're not shooting either direction here. I'm not sharing my list telling you these are the things you should be doing. And I would appreciate you not commenting on my list telling me these are the things that I should be doing. Part of it is there are things I have on the someday list. When I share these lists for you today, these are not like, I hope that this is the end all be all. This is where I'm at currently. This is what I'm doing on a regular basis currently. There are things I would like to add in there at some point, and I'm just not there yet. So step one, before we jump into any of the actions and the implementing, is you've got to start with a brain dump. You've got to get all the ideas out of your head, all the things you could possibly want to do on a recurring basis. Because if they live in your head, they're going to be taking up space in your brain and in your mental to-do list when they don't need to be. You are never going to be able to do all of these things regularly if they all just live in your head, because all you're going to be doing is thinking about, well, I could do this, or I need to do that, or etc. You're not thinking about actually scheduling time for them and following through on them. So you've got to start with getting all of the things that you could possibly want to do out of your head. So I did this in a notes app. I decided, if you watched my quarterly favorites video from last quarter, I did it in vlog style, but it's a favorites video. One of the things I talk about is how much I love the notes app on my phone and how much I've been using that for so many different things. Now that I have a little one and I'm not always sitting at my desk, or I mean, I am, but not as frequently as I was before. I spent a lot of time at my desk before I had a baby. And so I loved lists on my computer, on Google Docs, on spreadsheets, on notebooks, on sticky notes, all kinds of stuff that lived at my desk. And now that I don't do that as often, I like things to live on my phone. It just makes it easier for me to add things when I think about it, to edit it, to check things off, etc. So that is where I did my brain dump. I did one for weekly, I did one for monthly, and I did one for quarterly. The first thing you have to do, I kind of already said this, is that you have to accept that you're not going to start them all on day one. This brain dump list is not, here's the list of things that I'm going to start doing tomorrow. Here are all the monthly things I'm going to do every month from now and for the rest of my life. No, it's not going to work like that. And that is what failed me in the past. If you've been around, you've probably seen me fail this in the past. I would make these lists, and then I would make these beautiful tracker pages in my planner, like in the notes section of my planner. And it would last me like 3 weeks, maybe. Like, I was so bad at following through. And that is why I'm here talking about it today. And because I finally feel like I figured it out. And again, I'm going to repeat, what I figured out and what works for me may not work for you. But step one was accepting that I wasn't going to start them all on day one, and that was never going to work. So we're going to tackle them. We're going to do quarterly and then weekly and then monthly. So quarterly. For now, I only have 2 that we are doing quarterly. I don't even have a list because I have a brainstorm list of things maybe. And I think if you own your own home, so also maybe I need to clarify, again, we're not shitting each other with my list or your lists, but I am married. I live in an apartment that I rent with my husband and my 7-month-old, I can't believe she's 7 months, daughter, and our cat. We have a 4-bedroom apartment. It's a pretty decent size, even though we're in Chicago in a city. Trying to think if there's any more background information that I do think some of these things, not even I think, these things would be different if we owned a house, if we didn't have a baby, if we didn't have a cat, if I didn't have a husband who helped with things, if we lived in a smaller place, like when we lived in New York, this list would look a little bit different. Okay, it will be a different size apartment. So I just want to clarify those details that I think are important when it comes to what I do and what works for me. So quarterly, for now, I have 2. It's changing out the heads on our electronic toothbrushes and the loofahs in our showers. Those are the quarterly things. So for now, I'm doing them on the first day of the quarter. They are in my Google Cal as a to-do list item to do on the first day of every quarter. I've been doing that for a couple of years, maybe this particular thing I think I've probably been doing for like a year or 2 now, because that's it. And that's all that we do. And it just pops up on that day. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay. It's the first of the quarter. And no matter what day of the week it is, because that activity takes 5 minutes. It takes 5 minutes for me to go to the store, the place where I store the extra toothbrush heads, which actually that reminds me, I got to write this down while we're talking. When I did this step on Monday, I used the last 2 toothbrush heads. So I need to order replacements. Okay. So this step takes me 5 minutes to go get the replacement toothbrushes, the replacement loofahs. They're in the same place. So I go to the cabinet, I get both of them. I go to my husband's bathroom because we have separate bathrooms right now. because our apartment, we do have 3 bathrooms, which is awesome. And they're all very small. So we have separate bathrooms. So I go to his bathroom, I change his toothbrush head and his loofah, and then I go to my bathroom and change mine. And it's very straightforward. So that is how I do quarterly. Again, your quarterly could look different. And it is very possible that you take some of the tips that I share in the monthly and the weekly section and apply them to quarterly if you have more things. Okay, monthly. Here is where I felt like it was the biggest list. And I think it was the biggest list, and it also felt the most overwhelming because the month is such a long time. It's like you have 30 days to get these things done. And it felt like I don't want to use the word should, but I should be able to get all these things done in 30 days, right? But one of the biggest mistakes I was making, past Laken was making, was trying to do them all in 1 week. Specifically, either the first week or the last week of the month. I was trying to do all my monthly things on the first week or the last week. And that was not working. Shocker. That did not work. Because then what happens in the month when this month we're out of town the last week of April? Or truthfully, I tried to do them all a lot the last week of the month. And that's when I'm batching content for the next month. So work is a little bit busier that week. And so trying to do them all the last week didn't work as well. Some of them actually needed to happen on a different date any month. Now, also my monthly things, when I show you the list, some of the monthly things include bi-weekly. So things that have to happen twice a month. I have them in the monthly section twice. So what did I do? I spread them throughout the month. And I wish I could take credit for this idea, but it's not a groundbreaking idea, but somebody commented on a video and told me to do it this way. And I was like, well, yeah, that makes so much sense. So what I did was I took my list, my idea list, and I guess it was January, I didn't take all of them. I took some of them and I put them in different weeks throughout the month, and I spread them out over the course. So this is what my monthly list looks like. Yeah, now. I took the screenshot before I unchecked them for April. So this is at the end of March. And so these are the monthly things that I have worked my way up to. Again, week 1 of January, I did not do all of these. Week 2, I did not do all of these. I have worked my way up over the last 3 months to build my way up to these. So like I mentioned, some of them automatically went into a specific week, like monthly calendars really kind of has to be on week 4 because I'm prepping for the next month. The finance email pretty much has to be week 1. Okay, so those go there. And then Charlie's Fountain is one of those bi-weekly things. The filter has to be changed every 2 weeks. So I put that on week 2 and week 4. And then the makeup brushes, I needed a week that I washed them. And then I have 2 sets of like all the brushes I use on a regular basis. It's not that many. And so what I do is I wash them all at one time and then I break them into 2 chunks. And so I use my makeup brushes for 2 weeks. And I don't do my makeup every day. There are some weeks that I only use them twice, like on the 2 Wednesdays. Most of the time I do it at least one day on the weekend. So let's say I use them 4 times and minimum. And then I swap them. And so I put that on week 4 and then on week 2, so on and so forth. And then I just kind of filtered in things in. Before you come at me, we have an automatic litter box that only has to be swapped out once a month for my cat and her size. So that is why litter is only on there monthly. When we lived in New York and I didn't have an automatic litter box, this was on the weekly to-do list. And so I still don't think I ever had a good rhythm with it. And so this is what the monthly task looks like. Again, I feel like I said this a million times, but I just want to reiterate. I did not wake up on January 1st and start all 12 of these. In fact, in March, my goal was to do 10. There were 2 of these that were not on there. And then so on and so forth. And I layered them on, etc. Now, the other thing that I have kind of been doing that has been working for me is I do them all on Fridays. It doesn't always pan out like that. It's not always perfect. But the way I've been trying to plan out my life is that I focus on work Monday through Thursday. And then on Fridays is all of my household type things. And so all of my monthly things all end up falling on Friday. It, again, doesn't always work like that because for swapping out the makeup brushes, I typically do that on Wednesday because I'm going to do my makeup anyway. So I might as well go ahead and do that task. It takes 5 minutes. You'll notice it's another thing. Some of these things are 5-minute things, right? Switching out the makeup brushes is a 5-minute task, whereas washing the makeup brushes is longer. Sending my husband the finance summary email is a shorter task, whereas cleaning out the freezer is a much longer task. Actually, cleaning out the fridge is the longest task of all of these. But that is it. They all kind of take a different amount of time, and that's okay. So that's the monthly tasks. The last thing I will say on monthly is I am tracking it. You know what? I have this thing say I'm tracking it in 2 places because in my mind, I'm tracking it in 2 places here on my goal planner. I'm tracking it in the monthly section where I will get a check mark when I do all 12 of them that I showed you on the prior slide. So I took that picture on March 31st and then I unchecked them all. And then I'm also tracking them on the weekly section because my goal is to do at least 2 per week. Now, you're going to be like, Laken, the goal looks like it's 3 per week. Yes, ultimately the goal is 3 per week, but my check mark is for 2 per week. That way, if I miss one, it's okay. I still get my check mark and I will play catch up. But then guess what? I'm also tracking it here in my phone. And this is the tracker for the actual steps, whereas this is the tracker that I'm following through. My ultimate dream in dreamland and ideal land next quarter, these are not on my goal planner. That would be the dream. Are they still going to be in my Google Cal? Yes. Is it still going to be in my planner? Yes. And it's still going to be in my phone. But ideally, I'm no longer going to need to track it on my goal planner because it will be a routine. So in Q1, my goal was to kind of establish, and then in Q2, I am solidifying that. And so hopefully we'll not need to track it here. I'm going to check the comments just to make sure. 3 weeks for me, it was 3 days. I'm assuming this was when I tried to do them all and I lasted 3 weeks. I mean, because I was like, oh, it was January, right? So that's usually I have till, January 21st, right? Yes, it's going better now that I know not to expect to do it all at the same time perfectly. And this makes so much sense to spread tasks throughout the month like this. Again, I wish I could take credit and I cannot. Somebody commented when I first started talking about this goal. I'm pretty sure it was on my January goals video where somebody said to do it this way. And I was like, well, yes, that makes so much sense. Thank you. I use a tracker in my Google Sheets and I'll transfer it to my planner when the month is done. I always have my phone with me. Yeah, Google Sheets, Google Doc is also a great option on your phone. That's why I use this is a notes app on my phone, this screenshot. Okay, let's move in to weekly. So I tackle weekly basically the same way, but it's instead of it being, that's not what I meant to do. I meant to do it. So, right. So monthly, instead of doing it all 1 week, I spread it out throughout the month. Weekly, same concept. Instead of trying to do it all on one day, like let me do all of it on Friday, I do 1 per day, Monday through Friday, Monday through Thursday, and then I do a couple on Friday. So this is, again, what the list looks like now. This is a very simple list. This is, again, I have lots of other things that I would like to add at some point, but for now, this is what I can commit to completing on a weekly basis. And these are the things that make me and our house feel better when I do them consistently. So most days, Monday through Thursday, it's one thing that I'm trying to do. And then I try to do a couple of more things on Fridays. What I try to do is line up the size of the action with what else I've got going on that day, right? Watering the plants takes 5 minutes. One day I'm focused on work. But if I get one weekly task done on Monday, instead of saving them all for Friday, it makes me feel more on top of it. Running the Roomba lines up on Tuesdays because most Tuesdays we go to my mom's. And I work either in my mom's house or in like the library, I don't know what to call it, in my mom's apartment building, or at a nearby coffee shop or something while she watches Lila and then my mom cooks dinner. That means we're not here all day. So Rosie can do what she needs to do. I've talked about this in videos before. My Roomba takes forever. She has to charge like 2 or 3 times while she's doing our apartment. Anyways, so she has Tuesdays to herself. Now, if we have a different plan that day and we're going to my mom's on Mondays, I'll switch it and I'll run Rosie on Monday and I'll do plants on Tuesday. Wednesday, I swap out the makeup stuff. What I'm talking about here is the beauty blender. I have noticed that when I swap that out more regularly, it is better for my skin. So I have 4 of them. And when I wash my makeup brushes once a month, I wash all 4 beauty blenders. And then on Wednesdays, I swap out for a fresh one. So I have a fresh one every week. Thursday, I clean Lila's room. Rosie doesn't go until her room. And so I vacuum, dust, and swap out her sheets on Thursdays. And then Friday is kind of my catch-up day. I do Rosie again, and I actually like clean the floors after Rosie is done with her cleaning. And then I swap out our sheets on Fridays. And then Friday is also my catch-up day with whatever I didn't get done earlier in the week. But those earlier in the week steps are so small that it works. Again, I'm tracking in 2 places, just like I did with the monthly, but this place I'm tracking the 7 weekly tasks that I just showed you, and then daily, the goal doing it Monday through Friday. And then I guess really it's 3 because I'm also checking it off here to make sure that I got it done. I'm going to check the comments again. I use the reminders app on my phone for my monthly and quarterly tasks. I've heard good things about that app, but I've never tried that. Could you add a checkbox for the monthly tasks to your weekly task list too, or is that overwhelming? I could, Jennifer, and there was like 1 week that I tried to combine them and have them in one thing and not have these 2 separate things. And it was overwhelming to me. And I felt like it didn't work in my head, mostly also because of the way that it falls in my schedule. Monday through Thursday, I only typically need to open this one. And then Friday, I open this one and do the Fridays, do that stuff. So that's just kind of how it has been working for me. But the next thing is that there's going to be some trial and error. There is, if you take something away from what I talk about today and you're like, I'm going to try that, but I'm going to put this twist on it, go for it. There will be ways that you can figure out it works better for you. And I'm sure there will be ways that I change it. This is my routine as of April 3rd, 2024 that I am sharing with you. It might change tomorrow, but for now, this is what's working. And some of it has come from some trial and error. Like I know that Rosie takes a long time. So I know that it's better for her to run on days that we are out of the apartment for a good chunk of the day so she can have her time. That's how it's also on Fridays, partially because I want to clean the floors on Fridays, but then also because we go to gymnastics. And so I set her off and between Lila's morning nap and gymnastics, and she's usually done by the afternoon. And then I'm trying to think of some other trial and error that I figured out on what works and what doesn't work. And it doesn't mean that I won't change my mind at some point, but I have tried things and figured out what works. And then in case I didn't say it enough, you're going to layer them in slowly over time. You're not going to go make your list and make lists that look like mine and start them tomorrow. That is not how I did it. And that is not how I would recommend that you do it. I do have other ones that I would like to layer in, some more like true cleaning stuff. I mean, as you can see, like the bathrooms were on there monthly. Maybe I want to do them twice a month. We'll see. If you watch my goals video, I talked about how a cleaning routine is a quarterly goal, and it's gonna play well with this routine. Is I'm gonna take the cleaning tasks and I'm gonna layer them in to different pieces of this. And I'm probably going to find some stuff that works. I'm going to find some stuff that doesn't work. And I'm going to figure out a routine that works for us and our family and our house and all the things. So I hope I explained that. I've gotten so many questions in DMs and things about this topic since I started sharing it as part of my goals. And so I knew it kind of needed its own video that I could really kind of in depth go into it and share my list. I was nervous about sharing my list, if I'm being totally transparent and honest with you, because I know there's things on my list that like are things that might be helpful for us to do every week or every other week or every day, or and obviously there are things that this doesn't include. I think I've mentioned this in a bazillion videos. My husband does the dishes. The end. I don't do dishes, so that is not on here anywhere because I don't have to deal with that. And you'll notice it doesn't have daily tidying. I talked about that in a vlog. Gosh, I feel like that was January that I shared that in a vlog, that our tidying routine looks different. It's not part of this because it's tidying up daily, basically. And I just do different rooms at different times of the day. And that's what works for me. So, okay, great. Yes, I understand it better now and see how it can be used with other goals too. Absolutely. Hopefully, you can take this and apply it to other things, and that it could be helpful in other ways as well, for sure. That's the other reason I do in sheets first. I can easily change if something doesn't work or not work at that time. Absolutely. And Google Sheets, I'm assuming is what you mean, Lisa. That's a great idea to have a bunch of beauty blenders. I'm going to have to do this. Yes. I started that routine years ago, actually. I mean, I didn't have it as part of a routine like this, where like on Wednesdays I swap it out. I had a bunch and I would swap it out when it started to feel gross. But when I was doing my makeup every day, when I worked a corporate job, it started to get really gross. And I noticed that when my beauty blender isn't clean, it impacts my skin because I'm putting it, I use it on my entire face. And so, yeah, I mean, I use the Real Techniques brand one, so they're not super pricey. And they do go on sale a lot. And so I have 4 that I just wash all at once and I swap them out once a week. I also swap out the little makeup puff. This one's not, I don't think, as big of a deal. I just happen to have 4, but I happen to have my makeup right here. I use one of these little puffs to put like the lower eyeliner in. I think I did a whole makeup routine video during Vlogmas. If I did, I will link it. So I also swapped this because I have 4 of these. So I also swapped this out with the beauty blender, but the beauty blender is the key one. Oh, yes. I can also see how energy levels and hormone level each month can also play into this for sure. We talked about that a lot in the community last month, obviously, you know that, and talking about how your hormones can fluctuate throughout the month. And if you can line things up, it can be very helpful for sure. And also, I want to clarify that something new I'm going to have to figure out this month is how travel plays into this, because in January, February, and March, we didn't go anywhere. That's kind of a lie. I went away for one night in January to go to a wedding in Dallas, but it was a weekend and I was gone one day. In April, we're going to be gone for a whole week. So what I'm going to have to do is, for the weekly stuff, we're just going to skip a week. Like, it's not that serious. Like, these things won't happen and it will be okay. For the monthly stuff, the week 4 stuff is going to have to get moved. I probably will bump up Charlie's Fountain and washing the brushes before we leave. And then I will do the monthly calendars and move them to week 1 of May when I get back, is probably what I will do. But I'm going to have to figure that out. So, any questions on this topic before we move into the rest of our chat? How do you wash the beauty blenders? I can never fully get them clean. I'm going to be honest, I don't fully get them clean either. It's not perfect. They don't look like they were brand new. And that's why at some point I just am like, okay, I'm done. And I toss them. But I use like a gel makeup, not gel. It's like a soap. It's like a liquid soap. It's the Sephora brand. It's just like a liquid soap. And I get it wet and I put the soap on there and I just kind of like smush out the makeup and then kind of do it again and smush out the makeup. And again, they don't get perfect. They're not perfectly clean. There are still little spots here and there, but in my mind, the little splots of makeup that are still there, like, it is what it is. I got out the gunk and the majority of it and the germs and things that are going to clog up my pores. So they're not perfect, but they're better than they were before I started the process. All right. If you have any other questions, if you're watching the replay and so you're not able to ask questions here live, leave them in the comments. I'm happy to answer them and keep talking about this topic. But now at least I have this video I can point people back to in the goals video. So moving into Q&A time, you are welcome to ask questions about anything. It can be about your individual goals and struggles. Like I say every week, even if you feel like your question is really specific to you in your life and your goals, I promise somebody else is going to benefit from your question and answer. It can be about a specific topic. If you have a topic you want to talk about, but you don't know how to phrase it into a question, just put topic and then whatever your topic is. Or it can be whatever is on your mind. I am going to go back to, I swear by the soap cleaning bar by Beauty Blender. It looks like a little round soap bar. That's what I use for my brushes. But for the actual Beauty Blender, I use like a liquid gel thing. When I cleaned mine in the past, they became jumbo size. Yeah, that's just them getting wet. They go back to normal once they dry. Okay, Amber asked a question at the very beginning. How to do the small multiple tasks that need attention. For example, I can't seem to do tasks that need attention, like download phones and videos, unsubscribe to emails, paper admin, file paperwork, clear phone, pet care, donations, recycling. Amber, hopefully this whole session really helped with some ideas on how you can do some of these things for ones that can be a weekly or a monthly tasks. Some of them can be weekly or monthly. I will tell you, Charlie's Nails is one of those things that I wish I didn't do it like when we needed to. Like, truthfully, we do it as needed. I would like it to be more of a recurring task kind of activity. And I'm trying to, no, I don't have any of your other examples on my like future list, but a lot of those could be. But what I will tell you, and this is how I'm feeling right now with photos, with a lot of these things, if you have not been in a good rhythm of doing them before, you're going to need a session or sessions, days, weeks, months, maybe, of triage mode is what I like to call it. So this is the phase that you're playing catch up. Right now, you can't, or you may not feel like you can implement a routine item for some of these because you're so far behind and you need to play catch up. Then once you play catch up, then it could be more of a weekly or monthly recurring task that you can schedule in that doesn't take a lot of time. And that's exactly how I'm feeling right now with photos on my phone. I know I shared in my goals video that I have I shared the number of photos on my phone, and some of you in the comments are giving me a hard time. And some of you are like, I have more if it makes you feel better. And honestly, if I hadn't gone through triage mode on my photos a couple of years ago, it probably would be more. But now the majority of them are truthfully of my child because that's how many photos I take of her. And it's right now I'm trying to use Q2 to play catch up and to try to get into a good place. And that is requiring a good 5 minutes. I've found my goal is 300 photos a day. And some days it takes me longer. And I'm not even into the photos of her yet. Once I get to the photos of her, I have a feeling that it's going to take me longer to get through 300. But I'm trying to play catch up in Q2. Then going forward, I will have a more simplified, shorter, recurring task to keep up with it. So something like unsubscribing to emails. That is one that if you are on top of it, and every time you check your email, if there is an email from a company that you no longer want to receive, you scroll to the bottom and you click unsubscribe and you go through any steps they require instead of just deleting it. It's easier to stay on top of. But when you are drowning in hundreds or thousands of emails, like we talked about River J a few weeks ago, it can be really overwhelming to even start. So what you have to do is schedule triage time, schedule catch-up time, whatever you want to call it, to get to a baseline. Then you can start to schedule the recurring task of staying on top of it. And that recurring task will take way less effort and way less time because you're at a good baseline. So hopefully that makes sense. For emails, when I check my emails in the morning, if there are any that come in that I want to unsubscribe from, I just do it right then and there. That's what I do now, Jamie. But I will say it did take years of playing catch up on it to get it to a good place and just deleting a bunch of stuff and being okay with it. There's another, I know I recommended this to River J when we talked about emails a few weeks ago, a tool called unroll.me, like unroll, ROLL.me, that helps you unsubscribe to stuff. And it's good if you're like drowning in emails, basically. So Amber, hopefully that answer helped you a little bit. The other big piece of it is you listed like 7 things, and I know it feels like they're all important and you want to start them all tomorrow, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to start with one and work on that one, and then you can start to layer in more and build your way up. Hello, question. Would you have any suggestions for planning using a regular line notebook, not artsy planning using bullet journal, just regular functional planning, how to approach monthly, weekly, daily? So I do use a regular line notebook for daily planning. And so I have plan with me videos for the entire, not what I'm trying to say, Laken, sorry, from the entire year. And I think a lot of last year too, I used just a notebook. So if you want to check that out, my biggest suggestions for using a notebook is trying out different layouts that you know have worked for you in the past and seeing if it works in the notebook, but then acknowledging the freedom you have of being in a notebook and moving things around if you need to. The beauty of a notebook is that you can just turn the page. If you don't like it, it's not dated. You're not wasting a page. I mean, I guess you are technically wasting a page, but you know what I mean? You don't have to. If I start to write something out, like I tried a different layout the other day and I didn't like it. And so I just turned the page and rewrote the entire day over again without that new layout that I had tried. But it's really just figuring out what works for you. And at the end of it, you can't compare your planning style to anybody else. That's what it comes down to. It can be really tough when you're on the internet and you're looking at everybody's, like you said, bullet journal, beautiful, artsy, etc. And if that is what works for them, whenever somebody in the past has always asked me about like the phrase planner piece, it's what works for you. It's a system that works for you. So planning out in a system that works for you and what that looks like in a notebook. If you need hours, write hours down. If you need different types of to-do lists, make different types of to-do lists. If you need Saturday and Sunday to have more space because you do more things, make Saturday and Sunday have more space. I personally have never planned in a notebook for weekly and monthly on a regular basis. I have done a weekly plan in a notebook if I'm traveling, but I personally like my weekly layout that I created because I created exactly what I wanted. And now sometimes when I travel, I will just print that out and fold it in half and take it with me. And then monthly, I typically will do just in my Google Cal because the month is too far out. I don't want to write it down on paper. But you can do the same things. And it kind of will potentially just be some trial and error for you. So, but hopefully go back and check out my Plan With Me videos and try some things. Oh, I did make a video about planning in a notebook, but I thought that video was about doing goals in a notebook. You might remember better than I did. If I made a video about planning in a notebook, I will link it. I know I made a video about doing goals in a notebook, but I can't really remember. I have made a lot of videos, y'all. It always impresses me that I will say something and then I'm like, I think I have a video on that. And then I go look. Remember last week when we talked about an office tour? I did one and I couldn't remember. And I went and looked and I absolutely had an office tour video. Like, I just don't remember all the videos that I make after 6 years of anywhere from 3 to however many videos. Somebody was reminding me the other day, there was a time frame that I was doing. Well, now I can't remember. No, I switched. There was a time point that I did 4 videos. It was 3 videos plus a weekly vlog. Then I cut that back, but then I added it to 3 videos where 1 was the weekly vlog. And then I added that in the live. And then it was back to 4 videos because it included the live. Oh, that's a lot of content, y'all. It was a goals video about using a notebook. Okay. That's what I thought it was too. And honestly, that video might still have some helpful tips in planning in a notebook. It was just very specifically about planning your goals in a notebook, not like your life, but I'm sure some of those tips also apply and help for sure. Because it's still a notebook. Notebook's a notebook. think my biggest tip also is to make sure it's a notebook you like using. Like good paper is my priority, and on a coil. No bound notebooks in this household. All right. Any other questions? Anything else? Time is flying, y'all. Where does it go? I don't know. Anything else? How are you feeling about the new quarter, about the new month? Are you a mess like I am? I think Cindy has a notebook planner video. Very possible. I've talked about Cindy before. Love her channel. Love her content. If I can find it quickly, I will link Cindy's notebook planner video. The video of Cindy's I always link for everybody that I always recommend people to is her video about picking a planner. If you're trying to figure out what planner to pick, she made a fantastic video about that. But I'll see if I can find this one. I'm sure she did, knowing her. I'm visiting Denver next week. Does anyone have any suggestions on what I should do or eat? That's a fun question, Jennifer. I personally I've been one time, but I was very little and we went to ski. So I don't remember anything about it or anything we did. And it was probably 25 years ago. But if anybody here live or anybody watching the replay has any suggestions for Jennifer, I'll keep an eye on the comments, Jennifer, and try and send you a text if I see anything, but also maybe come back and check the comments in a couple days. Which Oura ring do you have, the Heritage or the newer one? I have the not flat-sided one, which I think is the newer one. I don't remember why I decided to get that one. I do love mine. I do love it. I know I talked about it in a favorites video, but I get questions about it all the time. Recently, I got a DM asking if it tracks your sleep better than the Apple Watch. I don't know if I can use the phrase better because I did not like personally tracking my sleep on my watch because I didn't like sleeping in my watch. Like I don't like the feel of sleeping in my watch. There are plenty of people who track their sleep on their watch and it's totally fine, or their Fitbit or whatever. But I don't like sleeping in my watch. So it gives me an option to track my sleep without it being. I do think it tracks more, like, or different. Like I think that there's other things that it tracks that the watch doesn't track. Whether it's that different, because at the end of the day, you're getting the data to make decisions with, right? And so if all you're doing is comparing day over day, if you're getting different data from the watch versus the ring, does it matter if you're just comparing you yesterday versus you today? As long as you're using the same thing, then it doesn't really matter. The other reason I got the ring, which the watch does not do, is your internal body temperature for fertility purposes. So that's the other reason I got the ring. So if neither of those things are important to you, then you're going to need to do your own research and see if it is worth it for you. But my stepdad got one as well, and he has been loving his, but he uses his a lot for working out and exercise because he doesn't wear an Apple Watch. So he uses his for that. That was me. Actually, Casey, I think it was somebody else too. It was on Instagram DM. I think you texted me about it, but there was somebody who also sent me a DM about it too. How long does it last until you have to charge it? So it typically lasts, I don't know what they say. I found that it will last like 4-ish days. I used to have a routine where I would do it twice a week. There was something I used to tack it onto that was twice a week. That is no longer a routine we have anymore. And so I charge mine every day, but only for like 15 minutes. So it's part of my morning routine. I plop it on the charger at the beginning, like at the very beginning, and then I do my first couple of steps, and then I take it back off and put it back on. So it never gets to like fully charged, but never gets to fully dead at this point. I have my morning routine videos coming in a couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. And I talk about that exact thing I just said is in that video. I tell you about it, but you don't have to charge it every day. I just do. I rarely get a chance to join live, but I've caught all the replays. I appreciate that so much. There are so many of you that will either comment. I also get lots of DMs from the replays. I feel like I need to say this at the beginning of the video. I just want to remind you that if you are getting something out of somebody's free content, a thumbs up on the video does worlds to the video. commenting on the video. I understand that if you're sharing something private and you want to send me a DM that's like, I was watching this video and I got this out, totally understand, appreciate it. But also a comment on the video helps the video a lot. So just a friendly reminder. I joined late and missed the reading update. Did you get to the second book? Not yet. I have not made it to the second book, but I do feel like I'm making progress and finally feeling a little bit into it, into the first one. So not yet, but I'm getting there. I'm committed. I'm going to do it. And I just had my mom download the entire Throne of Glass series for her upcoming trip. She was like, what should I read? And we have the same Amazon account because I don't know, anybody else 33 and still sharing an Amazon account with their parents. I bought the entire Throne of Glass series when it was on sale for some ridiculous price. And so I was like, here you go. On her Kindle, I literally clicked the button. I was like, you were downloading the whole thing. And this is what you can read on your trip. And you can read all of them. Lisa, that's a great question. Are these lives similar to the calls you do in the community thinking about it? Yes. Yes and no. There are definitely similarities. We always kick it off with wins. There's always a teaching component. And then we also check in with our goals. So instead of just me telling you about my check-in, I give you time to check in with your own goals with some guided questions and thoughts. And then we go into the topic for the month. And then each week, the video or the call topic is different. So 1 week of the month, which is our call tonight, is a Q&A. That one is very similar to this video where it's people asking questions and me sharing my thoughts. The biggest difference on those is that I also open it up to any community member that wants to share their suggestions as well. That's the beauty of a community, is there is likely somebody who has had a similar experience. And so they can also share their suggestions and thoughts besides just me giving my thoughts. So that's the Q&A call. The next theme is a power hour, which is where we actually get something done. And we set aside an hour and we work on our goals together. And it's a little virtual coffee shop where we make progress on our goals. 1 week is a hot seat coaching call, which is kind of like a Q&A, except I actually bring the person up on Zoom and it's coaching, live coaching. I'm asking them follow-up questions. I'm digging deeper into their struggle. And you can always sign up to be coached. But I also know that those who watch them get a lot out of them because they tend to have a similar goal or they just have a takeaway that is they can apply to their own goals. And then the last call of the month is always getting our goals set up for the next quarter. So yes and no, they have the next quarter, the next month is what I meant to say. I mean, it's still me and there's still great people asking questions. And if you're able to join live, that obviously is a pro if you are good at, or if you need that extra accountability to join live, but then there's also always a replay that you can watch if you're unable to join live. What is the app you use to go through photos? Get Sorted is the app. Oh. I think I talked about Get Sorted in a favorites video probably years ago, and I think it probably needs to get back. They did very much increase the price of their app, which is frustrating, but if you have photos you need to get through, it's worth it to me. Okay, we are almost out of time. So let me ask you my last question, which is, what is one thing you're going to do this week to make progress on your goals? What is one small step that you are going to take to make progress on your goals? You know, it doesn't have to be massive progress. Small progress is still progress. What is one small step that you can take to make progress on your goals? If you are here live, let us know in the chat. If you're watching the replay, let us know in the comments. Couple bonus comments. For Android, Sidebox is good for photo organizer. I guess it just gets sorted. Maybe doesn't work on Android. And I'm going to think about it. Let me know if you have any other questions, Lisa. My one thing is start working on the packing list for our trip. We don't leave for a couple weeks, but I am already, I know so many of you have given me so many great tips about traveling with little ones, but I'm already nervous. Oh, I use Slide Box on an iPhone and it's free. Thanks, Megan. Set up your April goals, refresh your plans. Any other small steps? All right. If y'all wouldn't mind giving this video a thumbs up before you head out, I would greatly appreciate it. And if you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I'll see you next week.